What's going on, good people of the internet? It is time for OnComicsGrounds.com's flagship podcast, Panel to Panel, where a bunch of folks shoot the breeze and talk about comic books and such. We are here live once again, for the final time of 2019 for you good people. We are here to discuss part 2 of Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice Ultimate Edition. For you good people, we are bringing this to you the day before Christmas Eve. That way you can enjoy it as you get ready to enjoy all the good presents that you're going to open on Christmas Day. So get ready as we dig right into this. Don't forget, you can listen to this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher Radio, Spotify, YouTube, everywhere that you can listen to a podcast on any platform besides SoundCloud. You can check us out. So please check us out on those local services when you have the time. You can follow us on Twitter at PTP_podcast. And you can check out the website on comicsground.com. Put some hyphens between those words where we post reviews, previews, solicitations, all that good stuff. We are currently on winter break, but we went back January 2nd for you good folks. So get ready for that. All right. To my left, we have the man who is very frustrated, apparently, with the Watchmen finale. Travis, how you doing?
Man, why you gotta remind me of that?
You were so salty in the Discord. I was like, bro, what's wrong with you?
I'm so mad. For everything to be so awesome and not certain. Everything was so easily predictable and simple. And
the last episode. You're probably not going to get a season 2. How do you feel about that?
You know what? I'm okay with that.
Okay. And to my right, we have the hard-working, the cow-wearing beast of the night that is, and as she bakes her amazing cookies. Mary, how you doing this evening?
I'm good. I'm very tired today. Very tired.
Getting ready for Christmas?
Yeah, pretty much.
All right. So, part 2 of this movie, we finished off last time with talking about the dream sequence and talking about the confrontation of Batman and Superman when Batman's trying to get the kryptonite. We actually, after going back and listening to the recording, we didn't actually talk about the confrontation. So how about we start from there and then go into the court scene? So we start off with them having the confrontation, Clark smashes the Batmobile and makes it crash, and this entire scene is so tense. It's actually one of those weird scenes in the movie that I find myself liking more and more that I watch it. I hate the "Do you bleed" line, but that entire scene where the Batmobile is coming around the corner and you see Superman is so freaking awesome, and Superman's like, "You need to just stop. You need to just stop." But then, Batman's like, "I'm gonna fuck you up, guy."
Do you bleed?
It just...
It's one of the moments that's so ridiculously comic booky that I love it.
That's what it is. You just said it right there. It's so perfect to the book, comic book that that was the best way to describe that. Thank you. But the "Do you bleed" line just resonates with me so much because it was that first thing you hear in that leaked Comic-Con footage, because they spliced it into where he's in the armor on top of the GCPD with the bat signal. And I hate that. I hate when you first hear it, it becomes almost as iconic as Martha. It's so ingrained into everything that you know because of that. And I hate it so much. It's Travis, how do you feel about "Do you bleed"?
I'm gonna be honest with you, man.
What?
When it comes to Batman in movies, he comes with this level of cheese that can only be described as it'll heal you in the middle of a Skyrim fight. That's a lot of cheese, man.
Wow. That was
tell me I'm wrong, though.
That was like the greatest metaphor possible, and I wasn't expecting it.
Because, like, okay, like to look back for a second at the Christian Bale, Christopher Nolan Batman stuff in The Dark Knight, when he's like, "Let her go," or what was it? You got a lot of fight in you. I'll love that. He's like, "Then you're gonna love me." Like it's so ingrained in Batman because of the Adam West era that I can't help but love it, especially when we have uber serious kill everyone Batman. So that whole "do you bleed" thing is like, it's just hyper tough guy stuff that's so unnecessary and hilarious because of that. I don't know, I loved it.
And then you got scenes like George Clooney in Batman Robin where he just hops down and goes, "Hi, Freeze, I'm Batman." I mean, am I wrong, though? Like, you go from, like, seriously intense Batman, and then he just hops down and goes, "Hi, Freeze, I'm Batman." Or, like the scenes where, like, him and Chris O'Donnell are fighting over Poison Ivy. And then,
oh, my God.
And then, of course,
never
the
leave home
iconic
without it.
Bat credit card.
Never leave home without it.
We stand the Bat credit card.
Which, funnily enough, DC actually is, like doing a Bat credit card program now. So, like, you actually can buy a Bat credit card from DC.
Look, I'll do it if I get Bruce Wayne's line of credit.
Hey, that'd be some nice shit right there. All right, so from the "Do You Bleed," we enter. I left off talking about Wally specifically because I feel like Wally's entire scene collection can be one solid depression story, because you go from him being trapped during the Battle of Metropolis to then him defacing the Superman statue, which I don't even know why these people made a Superman statue when like did he co-sign this? Like, is he okay? Did he set a permit for that? Because I don't think that's okay. Like, Superman could sue the state of Metropolis for that shit. But anyway, no, like, you go from that to then him being like arrested and confronted by Lex to be involved in this whole scheme, and I can't even imagine what's going on in this guy's head. Like, nothing but like pain and revenge for how he lost everything. I think he's one of the better parts of the whole movie.
I mean, he's reminiscent of collateral damage in every superhero film. I mean, even if you look at, oh god, what's that, Age of Ultron, Sokovia?
Yeah, and it's then like the whole Baron Zemo thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's even reminiscent of collateral damage in that. Like, it was putting a human face to the concept that, you know, we as comic book fans, we don't pay attention to. Like, I make the joke about Gotham's Metropolis's property taxes being so high because it's constantly being destroyed, but there is a human element to that.
Yeah.
And I think this was Snyder's attempt to try and bring recognition to that, of that it's not just a one-sided thing. But I don't know how well it worked out, in my opinion.
Travis, your thought?
I don't think Superman really co-signs anything people do.
I mean, I didn't even mean just that, but like Wally's entire arc and like how real it is. But also, yeah, like Superman probably doesn't co-sign half the shit they do.
Nah, he just looks at it and he's like, "Come on, man, fucking." And I feel like subconsciously when this is completely separate from the movie, but I feel like Clark subconsciously throws his villains into the shit that they build for him.
You know, I'd probably believe that.
But
like, stop making statues. Just throw it.
Wally's arc. You talking about the guy who lost his legs?
Yeah.
And all that. Okay, his arc was really, really sad, I admit, and I can understand how he was driven to like extremism and could blame Superman and all that. And I'm sure that was the goal. But I had a really hard time with how he was treated. The court scene. That's my issue with that. Like he was on the come up, things were looking good, and then they just murdered him.
Like they straight pulled the the whole explosion. Like that's ooh.
Yeah, you
That
got
scene-
Superman crying. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say that scene, ironically, is one of my favorite of the movie.
Oh, okay. Explain.
Well, first of all, Holly Hunter doing anything is awesome. I love Holly Hunter, but I think it's kind of a complicated scene for me because the whole thing is that the bomb is in his wheelchair and Superman can't see it. And that was the whole point. But I think it's Henry Cavill's face after, while the room is on fire and these people are already dead and he's just crying because it's that moment of very human shock. I mean, now you can get into the arguments of, he can move quickly so he could have stopped it before the explosion reached past Wally, yada yada.
Yeah.
But I like the human element. I mean, and seeing Superman cry, it's not something that we're not used to because, we're comic book fans. We've seen dozens of panels of Superman crying. But to see it in a movie that part of the plot is, people elevate him as a god.
Yeah.
And he's not all powerful. If that made any sense.
Well, that definitely
Makes
makes
perfect sense.
And although one fun Easter egg about the Senate hearing scene is that actual U.S. Senator Patrick Leahy is sitting right next to Holly Hunter.
Oh.
And his appearance in Batman vs. Superman was his 5th Batman movie.
Really?
Yes, he is an actual U.S. senator. He's been in office for a couple of decades at this point. And he is a massive fan of Batman because as a child he would go to his library and read comic books and absolutely fell in love with Batman specifically. He was in Batman Forever, Batman and Robin, The Dark Knight Rises, and Batman vs. Superman. He's always this little background character. I think he also did a guest voice in one episode of Batman the Animated Series.
Wow.
And any licensing or royalties or appearance fees that he gets for his appearances in the films, he turns around and donates it all to charity. But from what I understand, most of the money ends up being donated back to the same library he went to as a little boy.
Whoa.
So that's just a fun bit of Batman trivia for you.
That's pretty freaking awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Wow.
He's a better Batman fan than all of us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like holy crap.
But I think if I remember correctly, I think he started reading Batman in like the 1940s.
Damn.
Yeah.
I'm like dumbfounded. Okay, then we get to go from that then talking about Lex Luthor's piss.
There you go. Yay, transitions.
Oh, Jesus. So Jesse Eisenberg thinks it's a good idea to make a peach tea joke since Holly Hunter referenced Granny's peach tea when she said about like giving him the rock. So this man literally has it orchestrated so right before she dies there is like a whole thing of his piss there, and I'm like, bro, for real? Like that's some petty shit right there. Like Holly Hunter, like she was pretty much just playing the non-corruption, like okay with like senator. She wasn't really doing anything wrong. In all essence, she was cautious of Superman, but like in a 21st century setting, what politician wouldn't be scared of Superman? You know what I mean?
Big facts, though, because he can circumvent any law that you have, and there's nothing you can do short of kryptonite or red sun radiation, and they don't know that in this movie.
And it's like there's all these talks that WB doesn't know what to do with Superman in a modern age, but like, say what you will about Zack Snyder, he kind of had the right idea to a certain degree, specifically with this, that like, they wouldn't really know what to do with him. Like, they'd be kind of afraid of him, wouldn't they?
Mm-hmm.
Like, Mary, you know more about Superman than I do, so I want to hear your thought on that.
I think I may be erroneously attributing this to her, but I think Gail Simone said something to the effect of that the MCU created a world with superheroes in it, but the DCEU tries to bring superheroes into our world. Because, I mean, that's reminiscent in BVS that, we have members of the actual mainstream media. I mean, you had CNN reporter Soledad O'Brien was in the movie as herself. Jon Stewart was in the movie as himself. Dozens of other reporters and whatnot were playing themselves, reporting on Superman being there, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of what Snyder was going for, was that, oh God, I'm trying to think of a way to put this, that this is how we would try to react to that. That, of course, the Senate would try to get Superman to come testify before them, or, as a public hearing. And, of course, the media would be all over it. A personal favorite is the, God hates aliens Westboro Baptist signs that they have.
Yes.
It was ridiculous, and I loved it. And it would absolutely happen.
Oh, most deaf. There would, those people would be there. They'd be like, the apocalypse is coming. The idea that literally Superman almost brought down the entire city was insanity. Reference to January talk, because obviously we're gonna have a whole episode devoted to Crisis on Infinite Earths. I love how Will Wheaton gets that cameo at the beginning, where he's the end is near guy, and that entire scene is so realistic of what would happen in a real world setting with superheroes, that everyone would be like, yeah, we're kind of all gonna die.
Yeah. And I think the whole him appearing at the hearings in general, because like Travis said, Superman could circumvent any laws that we had, but I feel that, in some kind of awkward poetic fashion, this was Snyder trying to show that, he is still an American citizen. I mean, Superman's mantra for decades was truth, justice, and the American way. And, why Holly Hunter wasn't afraid of, necessarily afraid of Superman, just kind of he is a U.S. citizen responding to, a formal request for inquiry from his government, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it is also entirely possible that I am reading way too much into this and giving Zack Snyder way too much credit. So, I mean, take it with a grain of salt.
Honestly, I feel like Zack Snyder deserves a lot more credit than we give him. Which I'm not trying to say I'm a full release of the Snyder Cut person, because I do I don't agree with everything he did, or what I've heard about Justice League. I'm kind of glad of what we got, but at the same time, I do think he is a visionary when it comes to being a director. In some cases, Sucker Punch is a freaking mad fest, but I love the concept of it. So
I can see what he's doing, and I can see what he's trying to stab at, but the execution is kind of where things fall apart a little bit for me. Mm-hmm. But I can definitely see what concepts he's trying to draw from, because there's this, I don't remember if I think it's in BVS, but it's either in BVS or in Man of Steel, where he's, at the farmhouse in Kansas, and he's drinking a beer and watching a football game. That is who Superman is as a person, I think it's in Man of Steel, where he's, just drinking a Budweiser and watching a college football game. And that's, God, basically. So I think it's, trying to, link together Superman's kind of omnipotent side, his human side, and then who he is as a person, as a citizen, blah blah blah. And so I can see where he's going, but I think it's the execution that was kind of shaky.
I agree. Travis, your thoughts? I think Travis!
Sorry. I got distracted. CC and came over and stuff. What were we on?
Superman in real world.
Oh, just on the front of why politicians are definitely afraid of him.
Yeah.
And
also, Zack Snyder's a genius.
Okay, so I
That's
mean,
not what I said.
I know. I wanted to confuse Travis.
Yeah, that one was like, wait. Wait. Well, I think one thing that they didn't really consider, like, Lex, his whole thing was that he just wanted to make Superman his plaything, to dominate a god. You know what I mean? But in doing so, they kind of cast a light on him to show the audience that he, even though was unaffected entirely by whatever lead-covered bomb was in that courtroom, Superman was also deeply bothered that someone went to that length to do whatever they decided to do to him at that very moment. That's also something I think the political aspect forgets about, is that Superman is the most, like, bleeding heart human on paper, in my opinion. You know what I mean? So when they tried to come at him, he was there purely because he's a Boy Scout and wants people to have faith and hope in him. But it's a world that, I don't know, Zack Snyder created a world where that doesn't actually exist. I don't know if that made any sense. I felt like I kind of rambled.
No, you definitely made sense.
All right. Like, so we go from this death and destruction, and yeah, that entire scene where, like, he's standing there in the rubble and the fire and, like, is just crying shows so much realism of who he is, because he actually gives a fuck. So I appreciate that about that, like Snyder's vision, that he did care enough to show Superman in pain. Hell, you look back and when he snaps Zod's neck, he didn't just like just stand there like, ugh. He didn't just sigh.
That cry of anguish gets me every time.
Yeah, like, I know people meme it all the fucking time, but like that moment is so like visceral and so real. And then like he just accepts Lois when she comes over to him. And just, like, is done. Like, he's so in pain that he broke one of his own core ideals just to save these people. Like, granted, I'd have just, like, threw Zod to the side, but, like, we won't get into that. I appreciate what was going on.
I think the big argument is that it was baby Superman.
Mm-hmm.
I think BVS Superman has had more experience, but I mean, this was tiny baby Clark.
Yeah, he was fresh
Tiny
out the
baby
cut.
Clark.
He's fresh out the cut, man. Like, he does put the suit on. Like, literally, freaking what's his face just gave it to him, and it's like, oh, okay, cool. So Mary does have a point. So when we go from there, and like we see Luthor gaining control of the Kryptonian ship, and then begins to put Zod's body in this thing. That was a little freaky.
I have no idea what was going on there. Just kind of like, okay, this is the thing that's happening.
Yeah, like, and it'll lead into Doomsday when we get there in a minute, but like, that entire scene is so weird. And then I love how the Kryptonian computer is just like, you really don't have access to this, but because you had a Kryptonian's fingerprints that you peeled off of his body, I'm gonna allow this. Like, huh?
Nobody said Kryptonian cybersecurity was any good.
It should be miles ahead of anything we could think of.
It should be, but apparently.
I mean, they couldn't predict that the core of their planet was going to implode.
Yeah.
See, I'm gonna stick with the Man of Steel one, where it was corporate greed and they didn't care.
Yeah.
I mean, all that phallic imagery probably had him a little confused, because like all the dicks, like spaceships that Zack Snyder was drawing, had me a little confused too.
Where are we getting all these statue materials?
Oh my god. Okay. So this one is going to be time for Mary to draw her sword and defend, because this one I'm gonna play devil's advocate for a few minutes, and then I'm going to relinquish, because I have seen this for the past few years, ever since this movie came out, that Lois Lane is apparently just sent on her little like mission with the bullet to give her a distraction. That way she seems useful, and I don't really agree. But, like, I kind of get where they're coming from with the argument. Like, she finds this bullet. She put herself in harm's way multiple times. She goes all the way to DC to confront, apparently, according to Zack Snyder's notes, Martian Manhunter, which is freaking insane. And like this whole time she's there, and then she ends up being the most the most. Oh, I can't even talk because I'm getting off track. I'm losing focus. Because my cat's clawing at the door. She ends up like getting in harm's way because of everything, and I'm trying to understand why they put her on this fetch quest instead of like having her do half the stuff they should be doing. Like, one argument that I've heard is that she should have been the one who was investigating Batman instead of Clark. Mary, your thoughts?
First of all, we should all be honored whenever Amy Adams graces our movie screens.
Wow.
Give that woman an Oscar, goddammit.
Because Mary and I have this ongoing argument that Erica Durance and like Amy Adams are either the best or the worst.
The best Lois Lane is Margot Kidder.
Okay, no, yes, Margot Kidder is the highest, but like second place is either Erica Durance or Amy Adams, and me and Mary keep having this war for the past few years now.
Plot twist, it's Terry Hatcher, I don't know. I like Terry Hatcher, though. But, I mean, the easiest word to remember with Lois's involvement in Batman vs. Superman is exposition.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what it is that Lois's investigation into the bullet and the way LexCorp connects with everything, it's exposition. And in terms of investigating Batman, we hadn't really seen Lois express an interest in that before. And if you read the Superman comic books, Clark and Lois are notorious for having two different agendas. Like, she had her stories, he had his. Every so often they'd work together or collaborate, but, she has what she wants to do. And, she trusts Clark enough to know that he can get the job done. Not as good as her, but he can get the job done.
Mm-hmm.
So, and we don't really see how much they communicate about it. And I think it's one of those instances of Snyder didn't give us enough to be able to draw a meaningful conclusion. But if we look at Lois's actions in service to the plot, it's exposition.
Okay.
And I'm sorry, anyone who argues that we should have a Superman movie without Lois Lane in it,
I don't even think it's that.
It's literally not how this works.
I mean, I don't think it's that. I think it's more of they see that, like, because of her being sent on the exposition quest, that she isn't given the more influential role that she should be having. It doesn't.
The arguments that I've seen is that they shoehorned her in the movie to have another girl. Those are the arguments that I have seen, is that too much screen time was given to Amy Adams.
So wait. How do you shoehorn in Lois Lane in a Superman story?
I mean, like, she just kind of exists, like, in Superman stories. That's just how it works.
But any screen time devoted to Lois Lane was screen time that was not devoted to punching, if that makes any sense.
How dare you have depth?
And I do think that that's where BVS did something right, but also kind of shot itself in the foot, is that it had it had the attempt of meaningful development of exposition, when superhero films are notorious for spoon-feeding it to you.
Yeah.
And I think that's where the big, separation comes from, is that, okay, this is how we would see exposition develop in, like, a drama or a political thriller or something like that. It's not how we're used to seeing exposition delivered in a superhero movie, which, we are told bluntly what is happening the entire time. I'm not shitting on Endgame in comparison or anything like that, but compare Lois's exposition journey to the scene where Banner tries to explain time travel in Endgame.
Ooh.
If that makes any sense at all. And like I said, this isn't a dig. It's not, me shitting on anybody for anything. It's just an example of a superhero film spoon feeding you the exposition exactly when you need to have it.
Okay. Travis, how do you feel about Lois in this movie? Because you seem very passionate about this.
Well, I loved Lois because she was other than listening to other people's conversations and kind of watching what they were doing, Lois was the only one actively piecing together an entire picture. You know what I mean? Because there's that one scene where they're talking about what Superman is capable of on a talk show, and as the audio is going over, it's starting to show all the crazy stuff that Superman has done, like saving spacecraft and all kinds of different things. And I'm looking at all these iconic moments, and without Lois's input, I couldn't really find myself caring about those moments.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Lois was the only one who connected any of the relationship of what's happening on screen to why me, the audience, should give a damn.
Yeah. And a personal opinion is that if you have a DC moment in comics, TV, whatever, and Lois Lane is in the room, if she's not the smartest person in the room, you've done something wrong. And I'm not talking Lois Lane is smarter than Batman. But I'm just saying, if she isn't the one with the quickest wit, if she can't think on her feet the fastest, you've done something wrong. And I really hate to do this. I have to give Bendis credit for something.
Ooh! Do it!
Is that going into Event Leviathan, he described Lois Lane as the most dangerous woman in the DC universe.
Ooh.
And to a degree, I think that is true. Because because knowledge is power. More so than anything in the world. And, we've seen that be Lois's mission since, 1938. She's never been one to shy away from everything. She has always done anything she had to in pursuit of knowledge and the truth. So if she's not the most solidified character, does that make any sense?
It doesn't make sense.
That if she's not the smartest person in the room, you've done something wrong.
Yeah.
That she has a morality and ideology stronger than any of the superheroes in the DC universe combined.
Which is so crazy.
We stand Lois Lane.
We do.
And somebody give Amy Adams an Oscar, goddammit. She's been nominated 5 times and never won.
Eric is better.
Damn.
Amy Adams is a better actress. And they both came from Smallville.
You're right, Amy Adams was on Smallville. I always forget that she was on there.
She was one of those early 2000s TV actresses that was supposed to go away, but then boom, she's one of the biggest celebrities in the world.
It's so random. I totally forgot she was in Smallville, and then I go back and look at screenshots, and I'm like, yeah, you're totally... See, this is why, during 2020, we're having a Smallville review. We're doing it. It's going to be amazing. Oh, yes. I'm about this. I said it last episode, I'm saying it now again. We're going to do it. Y'all will hate me by the end of it, and I'm okay with that. All right. So, I just accidentally closed out the agenda because I'm a moron and hit the wrong button. I was trying to pull it back up. All right. So we go from that to the confrontation that is Lex's crazy plan. So, excuse me. We arrive at the top of the building where Lex has Lois captured. He has Martha off somewhere, and Clark shows up "Excuse me, you have my girlfriend. What's going on here?" And Lex is like, "You're gonna go fight Batman because I said so." And I'm like, "That's really how we're doing this?" And on top of that, he goes, "I have your mom too." Really? I couldn't help but just look at this really, you have everything you possibly need to lock it down just so he'll go fight Batman. Okay, sure, let's go with that. And so and Lex seems to be in too much of control of the situation. Like, not only that, somehow it's more believable that he figured out that Clark is Superman, given like the timing of like, oh, he grew up in Kansas, and then he told the Martian Manhunter general that he grew up in Kansas and Man of Steel. That makes sense to me, but it's less believable that he figured out that Bruce was Batman. Like, specifically in this universe. Like, other universes in comics, okay, yeah, it's pretty easy to find out. But, like, in this universe, I don't fully believe it.
I still maintain my belief of that it shouldn't be that hard to figure it out.
Honestly, who else affords all that?
How many billionaires can Gotham possibly have?
All of them.
1 million.
Because there's Bruce, there's Cobblepot, there's Kate.
There was the one guy that caused Frieza's transformation, but I always forget his name.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I'm going off on a tangent.
But no, like, you see this, and it's like, okay, sure, let's buy this. And then Bruce is like, he's done jacked himself up, which you see Bruce do all this working out and like lifting tires and shit, and it's like, I feel so like I wish I was one of the camera crew that just got to see Ben Affleck work out for 2 hours, but that's
I'm sure it was purely in the interest of filming.
Yes. I mean, like, hey, that man had to get jacked for that role because, like, goddamn. But then he puts the art. Also, this is an opinion that I've had ever since that first Comic-Con show, like I talked about before. The bat armor looks so freaking goofy in real life. And I stick by that statement. Because you go from the art style of Frank Miller in Dark Knight Returns, where like it's very visceral, and you have like Bruce who's like super hulking looking because of how old he is and how like that's just the style of what Miller's going for. So seeing him in the bat armor kind of made sense. And then you see this where it just looks freaking goofy. And like it looks better when people cosplay it at like cons and shit. But like even here it just And I think
it's because there are a lot of elements of superhero movies in general that just don't translate well. Because cosplay is one thing because, we're expecting it to be a costume. In a movie, we have to set aside, we've got to willingly suspend our disbelief and like, okay, this is a real costume that's happening in real life kind of a thing. I mean, I do think the costume design for the DCEU has been pretty solid. But some elements, they just don't look great.
Yeah.
Like, Jason Momoa kind of looks goofy as shit in orange, but the costume looks great.
I disagree.
I also just hate the color orange.
That's fair. Some people just don't like it. That reminds me, I need to get the movie Aquaman Trident.
I think for me, the goofiest part of it all is the eyes.
What, like the weird, like fish eyes thing?
Yeah, when they light up, like they do in the comic books, where it's just the white. Yeah. Like, it looks goofy. Like, it looked goofy when Nolan did it. It looked goofy here. Like,
that's fair.
And you think it'd have to be hard for them
to... Yeah. Okay, so... Dom. We get to the pervert, like the literal V of Batman v Superman. The freaking fight.
All 8 minutes of it.
Legit though.
If you even want to call it a fight.
It's literally these people like throwing each other around like dingbats for a little bit, and then like I still like don't fully believe the kryptonite gas thing works, but all right, cool. And like, because even if the kryptonite gas thing is working correctly, I don't get how Bruce can just throw around Clark like a rag doll. But okay, sure, let's go with it. And like, do you know how easy it would have been for Clark to like laser the ground and say my mom is in trouble? Like, there could have been like an easy way to prevent this fight that like the reasoning for the fight doesn't make sense, and then the fight happens and it's 8 minutes of barely anything.
Although I do love the scene where he's where the kryptonite gas is starting to wear off, and he just keeps punching Superman in the face, and then like you see his face just kind of stop moving.
Because it's like, oh, I'm gonna die.
And can we just say that Ben Affleck has some of the most hysterical facial reactions? I love it.
Does.
God, I loved him as Batman.
Especially when like the mask breaks and like and we get to like the part that's coming up, like when you see the raw, like him trying to be raw anger, and it just doesn't work. Like I do like his little speech where he's like, "I bet your parents told you were special." I was like, "Damn, you hitting to where he lives, huh?" But Travis, you are like as great of a Batman fan as there ever was. How did you feel about this fight?
It was not a fight.
It was not a fight.
It was 8 minutes of Batman kicking the ever-living fuck out of Superman.
Damn. That's true, but damn, you're right.
I say that because the way it plays out is Superman has no idea what's going on with kryptonite at all, right?
Yeah.
And so he gets hit with this shit that weakens him at a molecular level. And then Batman just goes to town and doing what Batman does. This is like that part in the movie where everyone who's like a huge Batman fan like me knew how it was going to play out in this movie, only because Superman had never been introduced to kryptonite. So as soon as they saw it, we were like, okay, he's going to beat the crap out of him because Superman doesn't know how to manage. You can tell because there's that part where he's coming back from it right before the second shot when he takes that piece out of Batman's helmet because Superman's just in such a panic. He's trying to literally kill Bruce with his hands. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
That part kind of spoke volumes to me because you can kind of see that Superman has no idea what's going on. He's not sure if he can maintain if another one of these things happens. And it gets to the point where Batman literally stomps him from the top of the building to the bottom of the building. So, I liked the scene overall. And it was really corny, like the whole, your parents told you were special.
I love that so much. Like, he's so visceral and just angry and wants to put this guy down. I love it.
See, and here's where I kind of feel like a bad Batman fan, because that whole part, I love Batfleck, but that whole part where he goes, dying in the gutter, is blah, 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 I was like, that's too edgy. I don't even care what you said now.
Are you for real?
Yes. And then the Martha part afterwards was just so, I was like, man, they did that. They did that.
I love it so much. Like, it's so cringe. It's so good. So, we get through the whole fight, the whole 8 minutes. And then he throws him down. He picks up the spear, sits on his throat, and the line happens. And the thing is, I can believe that as confused and as frustrated by losing his powers that Clark would say something or like save my mom, save Martha, whatever. But then, and the thing is, I don't even care that like either Snyder or whatever like studio exec drew the parallel of their moms having the same name, because like obviously Bob Kane and and Finger and then Shigo and Suster didn't know that there was going to be a connection whatsoever. Like that's
Martha
fine.
was a very common name.
Yeah, so that's fine. But like, whoever at DC or WB like drew the parallel and put it in the movie, I don't care. It's Affleck's expression and how he like gives the line that like it makes it so memeable and sad, because like it just the why did you say that name? It just it hurts.
He's like
my
shaking
soul.
and he's breathing heavy and there's like spit flying out.
Yeah.
Why'd you say that name? That's just so much.
Yeah, like I'm so into what's going on, and then he does that, and then like this is where I'll agree with Mary that Amy Adams deserves her Oscar, because she runs and it just says it's his mother's name. Like it just, you can see the the pure emotion in her face. Like that's one of those things where I can see Amy Adams putting work in. but then her throwing the spear down and then having to go get it later is funny to me. But we're not there yet. So like this whole scene happens, and okay, cool, they're buddies now, everything's resolved. But just the meme factor is so depressing, and I hate that it exists. Mary, how do you feel about this scene?
I think the scene it's a lot of things. Again, like I said, it's one of those things where you can clearly see what Snyder was trying to do. And it's one of those scenes where the execution kind of fell apart. If you look at it, like, okay, this is what it is. They're both in very heavily agitated states. They're both, freaking the hell out, trying to kill the other person. Because something that we've established throughout the entirety of the film is that Batman is afraid of him. Yep. I mean, we saw that in the scene where, the Batmobile goes around the corner, then he runs into Superman. Like, that is a look of fear. Batman is afraid of him. And, you have to try and, get that moxie up to face a situation that you are probably scared to death of. So I think that can be used as an explanation for the heightened emotions. And I also agree with the whole Superman's, saying, hey, can you save my mom for me? But I think it was a scene that had every good intention, and I think it was just a really shaky execution. But I think Amy Adams does what she can to save the scene, and Affleck does play it off as well as he can. That being said, I am sick to death of it. Like, yes, it's cheesy, yes, it's funny, but good God, people, it has been 3 years. Can we move on from it?
Yeah, it's getting to that point.
Like, I'm sorry, it's just, the meme is dead, in my opinion.
Destroy the meme. Okay, so we go from Martha to what I call the second, third act of the movie, because this is like the part of the movie where it kind of feels like we have to like back up and start like another movie because of Lex still out there, and then Lex lowers Zod's body into the machine, and he activates Superman's Doomsday, and so many things wrong here. But we'll come back to Doom Shrek. We'll come back to Doom Shrek. So we have what I like to call Batman Arkham Dawn of Justice, where you have Batman say Martha won't die tonight, and he flies his like military grade jet jammer, like aka his version of Zack Snyder's version of the Batwing, over to this warehouse and goes to save like Martha from KG Beast and all his goons. And it literally plays out like the best freaking thing you could possibly imagine for a Batman fight scene. But the joke is still there that it plays out like how a scene in one of the Arkham games would. Like, you didn't expect this fight to come, and then it happens, and it's like, oh, this is freaking amazing.
I mean, and I stand by, something I've always said about Zack Snyder is that man knows how to choreograph a fight scene.
Yes.
Because it's easily one of the best scenes in the movie. I love almost every fight scene that he choreographs. It's just flawless.
And it's just like you see him just like he rolls over the crates and he like starts shooting people with the grapple gun, and everything just happens the way it should, and it's so perfect. And then he goes into the room where KG Beast has Martha. He's like, "I'll shoot her, I will." And he's like, "I believe." And like that line is some shit that like Keaton or Adam West would have said. Like, "I believe you," and then just like does whatever he has to save the person. Like, that was one of those few things where that like campiness of Batman shined, and I really appreciated that moment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was nice because like, I don't know, for me it kind of translated to when he did that. KG Beast was like, "What the fuck?" and then Batman got the upper hand on him.
I mean, Travis, how'd you feel about that? How'd you feel about the Arkham video game brought to life?
It was It was awesome, man. Seeing them, like, my favorite part of that whole fight scene is he dodges someone's strike. I forget what the strike is exactly, but he rolls over him back to back and then, like, hook shot punches some dude's head into the floorboard and breaks the floor. And I was just like, exactly, it's like Arkham. There's no better way to describe that, honestly.
Like, it makes you want to, like, pull up like the Arkham Knight video game and, like, play through the Iceberg Lounge and just start beating everybody up.
Bro, Arkham City straight up has a BVS skin where they call it's Frank Miller's Batman, but it looks a lot like Batfleck.
Yeah, then they have the actual Arkham Knight like skin for BVS, and it's so perfect. Oh yes, I might have to play Arkham Knight later. So we go so there's that moment where Bruce saves Martha. He's like, "Hi, I'm a friend of your son's," and there's more camp, and I love it. And she's like, "I figured the mask." Like that was golden right there. I love that so much.
The delivery was perfect.
Yes, like there was no better way to do that, and because if you did it any different, it would have sounded stupid. So from there, we go into the Steppenwolf cameo, which it still cracks me up how different Steppenwolf looks in here than he does in Justice League. Like, he looks like an animal here, and then you get to Justice League and he has like a face and like weird. It just, I don't even know why they put this in the movie, other than like to shoehorn the fact in that they're going to be like he'll be the main protagonist, like antagonist of the next movie. But it just like it seems so random in the grand scheme of things when we're getting ready to see Doomsday come out and start like throwing hands. Thoughts?
I don't know, space magic.
Yeah, like it seems so random, and like I don't understand why we're even bringing him into this when it doesn't need to be a thing. We already have so much going on. We just have Batman and Superman throwing hands. We're about to have like the third bit, like the act replayed again with a new like antagonist. Like I didn't understand why we needed to have the foreshadowing when we already have foreshadowing of like Diana looking at the footage of Aquaman, Cyborg, and Flash. Like we already have our like notice of what's coming next.
I mean, every movie does too much. I mean, I agree. The Steppenwolf scene, like it's an obvious lead into okay, this is what we're going to be dealing with in Justice League, but every movie does something too much.
Yeah.
Yeah. I out of all the times that people said, shoehorn Wonder Woman, I want that criticism and that same energy to be put forth to anything apocalypse related in Batman versus Superman.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes. Wholeheartedly agree on that one. So then we get to who I like to call Doom Shrek, because I firmly stand on the ground that it's so sad to me that we now have two other live-action interpretations of Doomsday that are on television that look better than the CGI troll that someone like created. Like whoever had to be the designer for Doomsday, I feel so bad for you, because not only did Zack Snyder or whoever say it has to look like it was more from Zod, it doesn't even look like Doomsday. Like, if this would, like, when they first revealed this is what Doomsday looked like in a trailer, I figured, okay, he's probably gonna get like roughed up and then grow the crystals on his body. Nope, he just looks like a troll in an Xbox 360 video game for like the entire fight, and I don't understand like who thought this was a good idea. Thoughts?
I mean, it just looks bad. It looks better there towards the end of the fight when we got all the spikes start coming out, but
his face looks like a fist. Like
it does.
Yeah, like when you make a fist, like where your fingers and your thumb meet, that's Doomsday's face.
Oh my gosh. I had never thought of that.
Although I will use a bit of snide topical humor. I had the Black Widow trailer before Star Wars, and it still looks better than Taskmaster.
Ouch.
Ouch.
Topical humor.
Bad.
Ouch. I mean, they just released one of the toys for Black Widow for Taskmaster, and it looks like he's going to get his shield, so, like, I have a little bit of hope.
Oh no, I don't doubt the skull helmet would look goofy as shit. But this one just kind of looks like a paintball mask you pick up at Walmart.
I mean, I think the skull helmet could have done well if they didn't, or if they put some effort into it. You know what I mean? Because for Taskmaster, it almost looks like it's his face.
Uh-huh. Anyway, that was just my bit of snide topical humor.
I appreciate it because the Doom Shrek has me just like, ugh. So
they're both terrible.
Yeah, they're both horrible. Because then we have Batman and Superman pull up to square up against a Doom Shrek, and it's actually pretty good at first. Like, if they wouldn't have put Wonder Woman in here, I feel like sooner or later they would have figured it out. But like her actually being there and then leading them into battle was one of my favorite points of the whole movie.
I like how they nuke Superman.
Yeah, like flat out, like just like
good job, Patrick Wilson.
Yeah.
I just love that he was the voice of the president and then he was Orm.
It's so hilarious. Because I ended up finding that out later. It just like because not only do we have him nuking Superman, but he's been Night Owl and he's been Aquaman's brother. Like, and they all have a connection to Zack Snyder.
Plot twist: The Conjuring's gonna cross over with the next DC movie.
Oh my god!
There's a ghost talking to me. There's a ghost talking to me. His name is Ocean Master.
Oh my lord!
Well, you remember they stuck Annabelle in Aquaman.
No, they did not.
Yeah, they did. In the scene where there's that trailer underwater, you can see her floating there.
Oh no! I have to go back and watch this now. Oh no! That hurts my heart. That hurts my heart.
She's in Shazam too.
Jesus!
That hurts. That's just not okay.
Because James Wan is the head of the Conjuring universe, so he, first brought Annabelle in. And then the director of Shazam directed Annabelle Creation.
So like DC just keeps having all the Annabelle references.
Well, and it's also a Warner Brothers property. But in the very beginning of Shazam, when Billy locks the cops in the thrift store, I think if you look to the left of the screen, you can see Annabelle in the thrift store.
Oh my god. That is hysterical.
That is pretty good.
So, we get the probably the best moment of the whole movie. Doom Shrek pulls up and shoots the laser, which I still think like Doomsday shooting lasers is freaking stupid. He shoots the laser, aims it at Batman and Superman, and then she comes down from the heavens, and then the cello plays, and it's on. Oh, Diana is here.
Oh my god. I think the coolest thing about all of that is that, when Batman sticks his hands up, which is a matter of controversy all its own, and she drops down, and then you see her with the arms crossed in front of her face. My entire theater just broke into crazy applause and cheering. Like it was pretty dope, and like it wasn't just me. And friends that I had that went to see the movie opening weekend too. It was a constant theme is that everybody applauded when Wonder Woman made her entrance.
Nice.
And like it's that perfect moment of like so many people have waited for so long that Wonder Woman finally gets to be in a live action movie. And she's there and she's ready for battle. Like it isn't just some stupid shit. Like she she squares up. And I love the line. Like it sounds stupid when Affleck says it because of his voice modulator, but like is she with you? I thought she was with you. It's so perfect and comic booky, and I love it to death. And then she's just like, okay, cool. Now I'm gonna lead you boys into battle, and it's so amazing.
And I think that there's a lot that the Trinity fight does well, because again, it's choreographed beautifully.
Yes.
It's hysterical because against Doomsday, Batman legit has nothing to do.
He pulls up with the gas gun like he's gonna do some shit.
I mean, I think he had like the one kryptonite bullet left.
Yep.
But I mean, it's an undeniably, it's an amazing shot. But I do like that when Doomsday starts to like go Super Saiyan or whatever, he just dives under something.
Yeah. Because it's like, yeah, you're probably going to die, Bruce. You might want to move.
But I think the entire Trinity fight speaks to the ability and the trust and the natural fluidity that comes when the Trinity is together. I mean, Bruce had some interaction with Diana, but had no idea Wonder Woman was a thing. Superman's like, I'm trying to figure out who the hell both of you are. But you seem like you know what you're doing, so let's just, we'll just center this around you, hun.
And it lends to the idea that like when Superman knows there's good people around him, he'll actually like put that full trust in them.
Mm-hmm. And I think one of the scenes that I like the best is that, Diana sweeps out Doomsday's leg by hitting him in the back of the shin with the shield. And then he trips up, and then Superman comes down and slams him into the ground.
Yep, combos.
Like, it's that kind of natural combat fluidity that is just completely indicative of the DC Trinity.
Yes.
I mean, even then, Batman hitting Doomsday with the kryptonite thing long enough for Lois, but long enough for Diana to get the lasso around him and to hold him, and then we come in with the spear, and then we do all death of Superman.
Yeah. Okay. So since you made that perfect transition,
and she cuts his hand off.
Like,
that was ridiculous when Diana just cut off Doomsday's arm.
I love it so much. Like that's savagery. Like it lends to her being fully trained in the combat. Like, yes, she was trained by Jenny from Forrest Gump, but at the same time, she's amazing. Like,
you're horrible.
I'll never let it die.
You need to let it die. Jenny's garbage. Hippolyta is life.
It's what's her? Like, I forget her name. But
Antiope.
Yeah, Antiope. But like, no, like I will never let that joke die. Just because I'm not the biggest what's the other movie that everyone knows her from?
Forrest Gump.
Princess Bride. I'm not the biggest Princess Bride fan, so I call her Jenny from Forrest Gump. Like that's what I do. So there's that. But no, like, yes, she was trained by Jenny, but at the same time, she's still a badass in her own right. So since Mary made that perfect transition, we get to the death of Superman, and there's that moment that I really don't even know how to process, because I remember being in Tennessee at the Dolby cinema theater where they have the super fancy sound quality, and it happens. And nobody really had a reaction. There was no gasps, there was no anything, and we almost everyone in the theater just kind of accepted it from the jump. Uh-huh. And it kind of didn't it wasn't earned for me. Specifically because of the fact that we already knew Justice League was in the works. Specifically the fact that we rushed all this stuff together, because not only do you have the Batman versus Superman fight, and then you're trying to tackle on Doomsday, because I don't think Doomsday should be in this movie. I think, if anything, you should have threw Eisenberg in a robot suit and said, let's have Eisenberg square off against the Trinity. That would have been better than him creating Doomsday out of Zod. Because if anything, Doomsday should have been what you did for Man of Steel 3. I hate the idea that we just said, okay, cool, we're gonna kill Superman, and then everyone knows, obviously, for Justice League, we're gonna bring him back, specifically because the day that the Justice League Comic-Con trailer dropped, they released artwork of Superman lined up with the Justice League. So, it felt like it wasn't earned for me. I don't know how you guys feel about that, but the death of Superman in this movie just irks the god out of me.
Well, I completely agree, honestly, but that's because there are tons of moments in this movie that are unearned, in my opinion. And a lot of this, like, in my opinion, this movie kind of falls short big time because it spent a lot of its time trying to catch up with the MCU, is what it felt like. And so when they just kind of threw in the death of Superman, and let's be honest, as soon as he said Doomsday, we knew. Yep. We all knew. Like, you know, Superman's gonna die at the end of this movie. All right, cool, man. But I think it would have been cooler if DC would have stuck with it and not told us immediately that the next movie he's gonna be back. You know what I mean? If they would have dared to be different in a few areas, I think it would have done better. But just the way that they did that Death of Superman, it was significant, but, like, why, though?
Yeah. I don't know, Mary. I'm like, I don't know how you would feel about, like, the death scene, but I figure this would be, like, your time to defend it if you have any feeling toward it.
I think it's another moment where, as much as I do enjoy the movie, yes, it did too much. But I do think this is one of those instances where it was too much, but the delivery sold it for me. That the death of Superman is one of my all-time favorite DC storylines. So I'm kind of like in the point like the 0.0001% of people who were actually excited to see it adapted. And I mean, as soon as they showed Doomsday in the trailer, I knew Superman was going to die. And it had been leaked maybe a few days before the movie opened. Somebody took a picture in the theater and then leaked the screen cap all over the internet. Okay. But the scene where, you know, Diana's holding him with the lasso and then he flies in with the spear. And then Doomsday takes his little thingy and stabs Clark in the heart with it. What got me very emotional about it is the way Superman reaches forward and pulls himself further onto the spike to drive the spear completely in Doomsday. Like, that gets me every single time. Because I have this weird, not necessarily veneration, but Superman is kind of the epitome of what we all should be as people. I have a very ideological, that's the word I'm looking for. I have a very ideological view of Superman. So I was okay with the scene because of the way Cavill played it. Like, he knew he was going to die, but if he was going down, he's taking Doomsday with him. And it's, you know, it's the whole sacrificial thing. So yeah, it wasn't done great. The scene was too much. They probably shouldn't have done Doomsday. But it was the delivery that did it for me.
Okay. See, I like that you defended it the way you did. Like, I'm okay with that. Okay. So we have the funeral, and I think so like at this point, are we like all like like from what like the context clues given? Do they pretty much just say like I know there's the whole like newspaper article of like reporter dies at the scene of Doomsday thing in there, but with the fact that they like have like Lois and Martha at the funeral and whatnot, is there some indicator that Clark and Superman are the same person? Do they kind of accept that, or they just kind of go back to whatever?
I mean, it was widespread devastation. It wouldn't have been... And he's a reporter, you know, stupid reporter gets too close, gets killed.
Yeah.
I mean, we see war correspondents get killed all the time.
And then he does go back to work in Justice League. Okay, cool. So that gets rid of that question. Okay. So, yeah. You make a very good point. Yeah, reporters die all the time. Okay. But no, the line that Bruce gives at Clark's funeral of, I failed him in life, I won't fail him in death. I think this line lends to pretty much the only criticism that I will actively give about Justice League, well, besides the Joss Whedon dumb sexism shit. Yes, that same. Like,
cringes all round. Cringes all round.
Yes, very, very much. Like the main criticism I give about Justice League like stems from this line, where actively in Justice League, you see them trying to retcon Superman's existence in this DC universe of the like Superman like was this hero that we all believed in, and like all this stuff, like trying to make him bigger than what they made him in the thing. And I find myself frustrated by this, because if you wanted to have Superman be this feared like thing, like some people love him, some people fear him, stick to that. Don't. Now, granted, this is my lens of the whole Snyder Cut thing, but also Batman's motivation for all of Justice League, which is obvious, it was all throughout the whole thing. You can't just go from he's evil, we must kill him, to I believe in his ideals and I will bring him back because we need him. Like, see, am I making sense?
Yes, because that brings me to like the fundamental problem I personally had with the DCEU as a whole, and that was Man of Steel made Superman edgy, and then Justice League made Batman optimistic, and I feel like those are very large nails in the coffin, if I'm being completely honest with you.
Oh.
Okay. I don't know, man, because like Man of Steel I liked it objectively. I personally liked the movie, but I know deep in the pits of my soul, and I'm pretty sure Mary might shout, even though she's on mute right now, that there is no way in any world conceived that Clark would let Pa die.
Oh, yes!
I mean, it's Kevin Costner, so I support it.
Well, yeah. Okay.
I cannot stand Kevin Costner. That is legit the only reason I am okay with it, is because it is Kevin Costner.
That's so terrible.
When he showed up in BVS, like, Victoria had to put her hand on my arm because I thought that I wouldn't have to deal with it again. But okay, if you want to know why I hate Kevin Costner,
do it!
Do a back-to-back of Waterworld and The Postman. And then get back to me.
Oh god.
Waterworld's so bad.
The Postman's not much better.
Oh my god, I love it. And like that whole scene of like Clark forcing himself in exile, and then Kevin Costner's ghost just shows up like, "What's up?" I was like, why?
I hate Kevin Costner more than I hate Gwyneth Paltrow.
What?
Why do you hate Gwyneth Paltrow? What?
We're not gonna get into it.
It is this whole thing, my hatred with Gwyneth Paltrow. Goop.
Like, there's so much goop. There's so much goop.
Goop. Okay.
We'll talk about it after the show. But no, like, okay. So, so, Mary, your thoughts on, like, the whole optimism and stuff, and, like, Superman getting retconned and such?
Well, in terms of his funeral being Superman's funeral being the big whoop-de-doo that it was, is that the fear that we saw in BVS came from the media and the government. Yes, Superman was always going to have detractors, but there's that big montage in the middle where, we do see him, catching the rocket and then saving people from the building.
Yep.
So we see him interact with people the most. And the people probably loved Superman. I mean, they built the statue, and I think that is meant to be the antithesis of the governmental paranoia. Because this is something that, a good majority of people can like and trust and support more than the government. So I think it was kind of trying to play off of the paranoia of people in power and what average people actually thought. And, the whole Superman fighting Doomsday thing was all over television. That's how Diana even saw that it was happening.
Yep.
Okay. So, I hate the whole, we're gonna, like, change everything and make him seem more of, like, this hopeful icon thing. That's, like, my one thing that bugs me. But, So, the whole thing at the end of the movie, we have...
That movie didn't know how to end. It just kept going.
Yeah, this whole movie just keeps going. Because we have Lex Luthor out his damn mind, bald, in a jail cell, and babbling on because now that like the whole thing with Doomsday happened, he got that whole dose of like from Steppenwolf of craziness from Apocalypse, and like he's being this this prophetic thing of like he's coming, and then Batman shows up like I'm about to brand the fuck out of you, guy, and then he sees how crazy Lex is, and it's just like, you know what, you're not worth it, and just leaves.
Honestly, go ahead.
Oh no, it's another Easter egg.
Oh, I mean, I'm just gonna bitch. So
go ahead.
The Easter there's a couple of Easter eggs with Lex Luthor there in the end when he's in the prison jumpsuit. His prisoner number, is AC 23-1940. It is a reference to Action Comics number 23 from 1940, which is the first time we saw the first incarnation of Lex Luthor.
Damn.
And then it says on his jumpsuit TK-421, which, if I remember correctly, is the Stormtrooper's designation that Luke Skywalker took in the first one.
That's random, but alright.
It's because Zack Snyder and J.J. Abrams, they're friends and they go back and forth, and he was doing the Star Wars thing at the time.
Okay. That makes sense. Okay. So, Travis, you're bitching.
It's just more of that Apocalypse shoehorning. I fucking hated that. Like, it was so much, I don't know, I almost feel like it was, you guys have heard the term nerdgasm? This was like nerd edging. Because we never got that. We got Steppenwolf, but none of the good parts of Apocalypse. You know what I mean? No one cares about Steppenwolf and parademons. Nobody. Not a soul. So I just get irritated retrospectively every time I think about that scene.
Okay. That's fair. That wasn't as big of a bitch as I thought it'd be, but all right.
Well, I've been bitching all night.
You're right. Okay, so we have finished the movie. We are at the point in the year where BVS has ended. We have Wonder Woman coming up, and we know Clark's in the grave, and that's it. So I find myself now with Aquaman, Shazam, Wonder Woman all coming out, Wonder Woman 84 on the way. I'm kind of sad to see what the DC universe has become. Because, wow.
You want to run that by me again?
Let me finish. The fact that, and like, I remember someone made this joke a while back, that the baddest bitch in the whole DC universe, a guy who talks to fish, which that hurts me. I hate that. Aquaman's amazing, and it frustrates me that he still gets compared to that. But for the sake of the reference, the baddest bitch in the DC universe, a guy who talks to fish, and a 12-year-old are the biggest selling movies in the DC cinematic universe. That's insanity.
Wonder Woman outsold Shazam.
I said all three are the biggest.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, no. I'm not saying I all three, any of these three are bad. I love that Aquaman 2 is funded by the Chinese. Trust me, I get a sequel to one of my favorite superhero movies of all time. It's like, like the reference at hand is the idea that the three most unlikely at the time are the biggest selling, whereas Batman's getting rebooted. And Superman's just lost out at sea because Cavill's doing with Witcher, and Witcher's amazing. Go watch it. But like,
yo, he doesn't need to go back to Superman. He's Geralt of Rivia, and if anyone wants to, I'm at Onyx Revelation on Twitter, and I got all the time in the world to poison my energy with your dumbass opinion. Bring it.
Yo, like, and the thing is, like, they could have, like, started this whole, like, because they've been saying for a while now that there's the possibility that Ezra Miller's Flash movie, whatever the fuck that's going to come out, that this was going, that his movie will cause Flashpoint, and then, like, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, and Shazam will just ride off and be the new Justice League. But, like...
It has a release date. And they have since switched screenwriters, so we don't know if Flashpoint is still in the mix or not.
Oh, lovely.
Because Christina Hodson, who wrote Birds of Prey and who's writing Batgirl, is also writing Flash.
Dang, she's writing everything now.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I find myself saddened by the fact that like we're not I'm still pissed at the fact that like Ray Fisher's on Twitch now because they kind of just threw the whole Cyborg movie in the trash can, which obviously that was probably going to happen anyway, but the fact that he's not even getting like cameo spots in other movies pisses me off. But that's argument for
which is a damn shame because Ray Fisher's a phenomenal actor.
He is, and like I know everyone hates on him because he was mostly CGI, and like he was still trying to figure out how to emote in parts of the movie because like Zack Snyder was making it weird. But whatever. I liked his vision of Cyborg. I like the fact that we got that really iconic C on his armor at the end of the movie because they even did that full progression how it was in the John's Justice League War book, where you see him go from being banged up from the Apocalypse tech to then being in the armor. I love that. But, like, we're literally at a point where we can never have, like, a Justice League 2 because of the fact that Pattinson's Batman now and Aquaman, Wonder Woman, and Shazam are making gangbusters, so we're not going to just cut them off. Like... It's kind of like I don't know. I thought myself frustrated by the entire situation. They're leaving Cavill out to dry because Cavill said in an interview recently that even though he's doing Witcher, he'll come back for Superman. Which okay, cool, but someone needs to tell WB to get off their ass and do it.
I think. Oh, go ahead, Travis.
No. This is your thing. This is Superman.
No. I was going to make a comment about the DC movies as a whole.
So Travis, go Superman real quick. Go for it.
Oh, I just want to say that Cavill is honestly one of the best Supermen I've seen on screen ever. Period.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I think he needs a script worthy of him.
That's it. That's what it is. He is a Superman that we didn't deserve almost.
We got a little bit of it in Justice League.
Yes.
When he does the whole I believe in truth, but I'm a big fan of justice. Like that is such a Superman thing to say.
Yes.
But
hell, that's how he like works with Cyborg in that one scene, like and like even Cyborg's getting like emotional and fangirly when he's trying to like save the universe. I love that whole moment right there.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
No, you're fine. In my opinion, DC, with their movies and wanting to launch an extended universe, they were fucked from the beginning. Because this is what happens when you spend 30, 40 years throwing all of your money and time and resources into characters. And now when the Reeves Superman movies were coming, hell, even longer than that, probably about 80 years, because you had the Fleischer cartoons, you had the super, super, super racist Batman film serials, you had the Adventures of Superman. Like, they had spent decades dumping shit tons of resources into Batman and Superman that, of course, they failed. Because, they tried to do too much too quickly. And you're retelling stories you have told dozens of times. I mean, and I think part of why the MCU did as well as it did is that, let's be honest here, before everything happened, the X-Men. The X-Men were the moneymakers of Marvel for decades.
Mm-hmm.
And so you had a decent crop of relatively B-list characters. And I mean, Iron Man, Captain America, the Avengers, it's a solid B-list if you want to compare it to the history of the DC characters and just the absolute weight of the X-Men in comparison. So they got to do more, and that's why I think a lot of MCU stuff came across as really fresh. Is because, these aren't characters that we've seen a bazillion times before. I mean, why do you think Disney wants to put so much time between the Fox X-Men movies and whatever they're going to do?
Mm-hmm.
So it stands to reason that, of course, Batman and Superman would run into problems. And now I'm not trying to absolve anything that happened between BVS and Justice League. That's not what I'm doing. But I'm saying that it certainly didn't help. And what screwed Warner Brothers and DC even more was that, yes, they tried to play catch up. And it's easy to point your fingers and go, see, you should have taken your time. But if they would have taken their time, it would have been the exact opposite. By the time Justice League did roll around, people are like, well, you should have done this years ago. Justice League should have come sooner. So they were fucked no matter what they did. So it's easy to point fingers and say, okay, here's everything you did wrong. But if they, in the alternate timeline where they, didn't do everything they did wrong, everything else would have been wrong too.
Okay.
So I think damned if you do, damned if you don't. And I think there's a very specific reason as to why Wonder Woman, Aquaman, and critically Shazam did very well. Financially, it is considered a flop.
Oof, rough.
Ouch.
And it doesn't make sense because Shazam did very well. But if you start breaking it down into, most MCU films are in the solid $800 to $1 billion marker. It is, a lot of people do consider Shazam to be a complete financial failure.
That's depressing.
Damn.
Yeah, and it's critically wonderfully rated. The audience loved it, the critics loved it. But I think DC's going to spend a long time playing into their smaller properties.
Okay.
There will be tie-ins simply because Gal Gadot is still around, Jason Momoa, Margot Robbie. Like, we have people who were connected to this original crop of movies. So either it's just never going to be addressed and we're all just going to agree not to talk about it anymore, or it's something that they're going to deal with later on down the line. And I kind of like that DC wants to do some interesting things, because we have Birds of Prey on the horizon, and that comes up really quick here in February. In early February, we have Birds of Prey coming out, and I'm excited to see DC do something different, and I think that is where they will find their strength. And and Wonder Woman will be the big draw that Batman and Superman have traditionally been.
Definitely. That first trailer was freaking amazing.
Oh, I'm sorry. But
Okay, I just remembered something random. Maybe it's just me, but can we agree that Jeremy Irons' Alfred doesn't age well?
I disagree. His Alfred is freaking amazing. Especially now going back and with him in Watchmen, seeing the stark contrast of he's playing this Ozymandias that is super smart but is crazy and everything. But then you see him as this super snarky asshole Alfred that just does not give a crap about Bruce's shit anymore. I love it so much. It's the one refreshing thing of the entire movie.
Okay, so let me hit you with this real quick, because that whole sassy Alfred thing,
yes,
is a much better Ozymandias because they were the same character.
Were they though?
Plot twist.
Yes.
Alfred is Ozymandias.
I'd buy it. That's how Doomsday Clock should have ended. Was that Alfred was Ozymandias? I'd have loved it, but no, I don't know. I like a snarky Alfred. Snarky Alfred is something that I really enjoyed because it was that therapy you need while watching this movie as Bruce is on his vendetta streak, and Alfred's not having no part of it. He's like, you're gonna destroy the Rock, right? We kind of need Superman. And he's like, no, if there's even a 1% chance. And Alfred's like, okay. Sure, whatever. Alfred's just drinking while all this crap is going down. I love it so much. I'm sorry, Travis. I can't get behind that.
You just quoted basically the things he said about Lady True before he killed her. Just saying. There it is.
God damn it.
There it is.
I hate you. You're just mad about the egg.
No, it's not the egg. That's a whole nother issue.
We might have to do like a bonus episode for Blurred Grounds talking about Watchmen because I already have like the first 4 episodes of season 2 mapped out. But we'll get to that. That's a whole different show. So these are our thoughts on Batman v Superman. At the end of the day, obviously we said at the beginning of the movie, we enjoyed what occurred. We have our flaws with it. We joked. We had some good fun here. I love Snarky Alfred, even though Travis doesn't. But we accept where we are. The future is very confusing, but we are hopeful. Look out for our reviews. We will devote full episodes talking about Birds of Prey and Wonder Woman 84 when they come out, because we will keep doing updates about this. So look forward to that, and look out for the new year. 2020 is going to be this new rise for Panel to Panel of us having full episodes devoted to different things. I think I'm going to torture these people halfway through the year with a Smallville retrospective. We have some different ideas coming for different things, so definitely look forward to that. I honestly am really glad that we resurrected this show because I miss doing it, and I picked 2 of my favorite people that are a part of this website and like 2 of my closest friends to do this show with, and I'm really happy that we're bringing it back after me and a couple guys started this thing and started the entire website. So I'm excited for what the spring has planned for us. Have y'all enjoyed doing this? Do y'all want to get speak some on it?
Yeah, no, I've really enjoyed it.
All right.
Fucking A. I've had a great time doing this, honestly. It's been the shit, and I get to make you guys read Irredeemable and Luther Strode anthology. That's going to be exciting.
Okay. Mary, your thoughts?
My thoughts about what? I have a lot of thoughts about things.
But like just the show and like how far we've come in the past 27 episodes.
I think we've come a long way. I think, we have a great balance. I think we have cool topics. I'm excited to see, what we do from here. And I'm going to find something truly ridiculous to make you both read.
Oh my gosh. I'm scared. Knowing you, I'm scared. Okay. All right.
The graphic novelization of the movie Cats.
Oh no. I mean, like, I'm the theater kids. That won't hurt as bad. But oh no, the CGI is so bad. But,
just throw me an Eye of Thundera.
They had to re-release the movie because of how bad the CGI was. Oh, that tells you how bad the thing situation is. Okay. We will catch you folks next year in 2020. It's starting fresh off in January. Don't forget you can listen to this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, all that good stuff. The only thing we don't support is SoundCloud, but we are on everything else. Don't forget that you can follow us on Twitter at PTP_podcast. Follow the website on Twitter and Instagram at OnComicsGround. And check out the website oncomicsground.com. Hyphens between those words. All of our good stuff like reviews, solicitations, previews, all that stuff is there for you. Good. I love doing the show. And hopefully we can grow and be the best thing we could possibly be. So thank you guys so much for listening. We will catch you guys in the new year. Peace out.